All right, and we're live. Going to be discussing my most anticipated movies for 2019. I hope you're all going to be enjoying this fine New Year's Eve. Have a fun and safe time later this evening, and kick it off right into 2019. But I want to get into. I have a list of. I curated 10 of my most anticipated movies for 2019. These will probably differ from you. This is just sort of what I'm most excited for. This upcoming year. So there's a lot of good movies, hopefully good, but a lot of exciting movies that will be coming out next year. A lot of comic book movies, action movies, sci-fi, horror. Horror seems to be really on the comeback the last couple of years. There's really been some good stuff that's come out. So I do have a couple of those, but I really want to just get right into it. The first movie on my list is Godzilla. This might be one of my most anticipated movies for 2019. Like, this might be in like the top 3. That's how excited I am for this film. And I think it was 2014 Godzilla movie directed by Gareth Edwards. That was pretty divisive in terms of, like, I don't know. They sort of went with the approach that a lot of times they sort of set up like an action set piece and then they would cut away. And I sort of compared it to like Jaws, where you see the shark for like the first time and then they cut away, you know. But I really like that movie. I like the tone, the style, the grittiness that movie has. It's not a very character-driven piece. And I think we're going to get quite a different movie in terms of like how well the characters are. And this even seems more, I don't want to say like fantasy, but it does seem a little bit more fantastical, I guess you could say, than that 2014 Godzilla movie. That seemed a little bit more grounded in realism, where this seems to be a little bit more far-fetched. And I dig that. I cannot wait to see, King Ghidorah, Rodan, and I forget the other one's name. Oh yeah, Mothra. I'm entirely excited to see those titans that they're calling them in this trailer. I cannot wait to see like these epic fights and action sequences with these classic, Toho monsters. I cannot wait to see that. And like, not only are we getting Avengers 4 later this year, but we're getting a massive blockbuster movie starring Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, and it's just mind-blowing that this is where we're at in, blockbuster cinema, and I cannot wait to see this movie. I cannot wait to see, like, all these monsters just, like, brawling. There's going to be this massive rumble going on with these monsters, and I dig it. Like, that's what I want to see, even if it's not as character driven as some people want. Like, going into a movie like this, you're going there for the fight scenes, the action set pieces. So let's hope they can pull it off. It's a little bit, sort of visually, it's a little bit too dark in my opinion, just like stylistically, like the color grading. Like, it's almost sometimes like watching the trailer, you can't make certain things out. It's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of hard to make, distinctions and see the fine detail on these creatures. I don't know if that was done on purpose because they're, like completely CGI and all that, but that's just one of my little nitpicks that I've seen from the last 2 trailers. It's just a little too dark. I can't make out the fine details on these massive creatures. So all in all, I'm really, pardon me, I'm really looking forward to Godzilla King of the Monsters. So let's hope it's good. Up next, Us, directed by Jordan Peele. Now, this movie looks completely bonkers, and this is his follow-up film. Not a sequel, but it's his second feature film. We saw him direct Get Out about 2 years ago now, and that was critically praised. The guy won Best Original Screenplay, I believe, for that film. And not only was it just a great horror movie, but it's just psychologically, it's just one of those movies that you think about for a while. And that's probably my favorite type of horror. It's, yeah, sure, you can have jump scares and all of that stuff, but it's really those horror movies that it sits with you for a while. You know, you're thinking about it on the drive home, or when you get back in your house, like there's just an eerie feeling that you have. And you know, it's one of those movies that you ponder about, like, what did this actually mean? What's the deeper meaning behind this? And that's really what I sort of seem to dig in terms of horror. You know, like Hereditary, which came out this past year. Like, I absolutely loved that movie. And I sort of compare like the style of Hereditary to Get Out a little bit. You know, there's some slow burn aspects, but it's more like psychological or, you know, paranormal, I guess you could say. But this movie looks nuts. I mean, the concept that this guy comes up with, it's fantastic, and it feels fresh, it feels new, and I cannot wait to see this movie. But up next, this is a movie I don't think anybody would have guessed we would have gotten in you know, in this batch of like comic book movies, but I'm really looking forward to it, and it's the Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. I don't even know if this has like an official title or not. They might just be going with Joker, the Joker, or I even read something like Arthur. I think the character's name in the film, like his real name might be like Arthur Fleck. We'll see if they stick with that, but currently this movie is just being, I think they finally wrapped production, but it was just being plagued with, it was just being plagued by paparazzi nonstop. And that's kind of unfortunate when they're shooting like downtown New York City and using the subways and, you know, back alleys and sidewalks and stuff like that. It's sort of bound to happen. But if you just like scroll through Instagram or just some like, I don't know, some website, you'll see a ton of like set photos and videos, and it's kind of unfortunate. You know, it sort of seems like you've watched some of the movie already without even like an official trailer, and it's completely out of context, which is a bummer, but you just kind of have to avoid that stuff. But I think this movie has a lot of potential to just bring something new to the table. We've never really seen this sort of like one-off villain movie, I guess you could say, and it's not connected to any sort of continuity. It's not part of like the DCEU or anything like that, really. It's sort of its own thing, which I'm excited for. I think that gives the filmmakers some more creative freedom and abilities to do something new and fresh, and it's not tied down to some existing plot line that, you know, comic book fans are up in arms about, you know. So we'll see how good Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is, and as far as I can tell, it seems like something completely new. Sure, the look is somewhat similar to Heath Ledger's with the long hair and the makeup, but it looks different enough for me to, you know, recognize it as something completely new. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think Joaquin Phoenix has the potential and like acting chops to be better than Heath Ledger. And I want the guy to be. I love Heath Ledger's portrayal, but like to think that nobody's ever going to be as good as that guy. Well, I want somebody to, you know, step up the bar in terms of like the Joker. You know, I feel like Ben Affleck actually did that with Batman in Batman v Superman. I actually think he's a better Batman than like Christian Bale. So that might be controversial, but I know there's other people out there that feel the same way. So, but I want it to be good. I'm a little cautious though, because it's Todd Phillips, the guy who directed like the Hangover movies. Like that to me it's kind of red flags. Not that I don't want the movie to be good or not that I don't have faith in the guy, but it's just like, that's really all I've seen from him. Like, this is what I'm supposed to go by. Like, you know, this Joker movie, I'm excited for it. I like the cast. You even have like Robert De Niro in there playing this supporting character. And, you know, Mark Maron, the stand-up comedian Mark Maron's in there somewhere. But I'm looking forward to it. I just, I hope the guy can pull off this sort of like gritty crime tone. And I honestly have no idea where the story's going. So that has me somewhat curious. But I just hope the guy can pull off a little bit more, not necessarily serious, but I don't know. The Hangover franchise is what it is. It's sort of like a raunchy comedy. But like, I don't want that tone in like a Joker, like standalone movie per se. So we'll see if he can do it. All in all, though, I'm excited for it. But coming out next month, I think it's later in January. This one is really up there in terms of like how excited I am for it, and that is Glass, starring Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and James McAvoy. Now, M. Night Shyamalan, the guy had a rough like 5 to 10 years, from the late 2000s, or not from like 2007 to like, I guess you could say like 2015 or so. The guy had a rough patch, especially how hyped up the guy was when he first came out with, you had The Sixth Sense, Signs, Unbreakable. The guy was like being praised as like the next Spielberg. So it was kind of like he was a little bit set up for failure, but this movie, oh my God, do I want it to be good. Now, it's wrapping up a trilogy. If you haven't seen Split, watch Split, but there's another movie you should probably watch. But I just cannot wait for this film. And like, I really hope Bruce Willis can pull in a decent performance. Like, I saw him in, what was it? Death Wish, I think last year. That was maybe like February of 2018. And it was just like the guy was sleepwalking through that film. Like, there was just no, like, it just felt like the guy was just giving this half-assed performance, like he didn't really care. And I just hope this movie, it has history with Unbreakable. It's the third part in this sort of Unbreakable franchise. And I hope the guy gave a shit in his performance so that, it'll really make this movie that much better. Like, James McAvoy in Split was just outrageously phenomenal. Like, I thought the guy should have been nominated for Best Actor. Like, he portrays like 23 personalities in the movie, and the range that guy showcased in Split was just mind-blowing. And, you throw in Samuel L. Jackson in there, who in my opinion, like, Samuel L. Jackson's pretty consistent, whether it's his dramatic chops, comedy, like, that guy can really do it all. And I cannot just wait to see the dynamic between these three guys. And, I really feel like M. Night Shyamalan is just on this like resurgence. Like, he's just riding this tidal wave, like, to shore. And I just want to see the guy do well. Like, he directed some of my like favorite movies in the early 2000s. And I want to see the guy succeed. I don't want to ever see somebody like fail at something. So I think not Split. I think Glass can be one of the best movies of 2019. So let's hope so. Let's hope Bruce Willis can knock a performance out of the park, because it's been kind of a bummer lately. But after that, we got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, if you haven't heard about this movie, oh my gosh. So this movie it's pretty much about a faded TV actor and his stunt double embark on an odyssey to make a name for themselves in the film industry during the helter-skelter reign of terror in 1969 Los Angeles. This is directed by Quentin Tarantino. You have Margot Robbie, Kurt Russell, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt. Like, it's really a stacked cast. And there's even some aspect of like Charles Manson having some role in this film. I'm not sure how much, but like, anytime a Quentin Tarantino movie is coming out, I cannot wait. Like, it's just so goddamn good. Like, in even The Hateful Eight wasn't the best Quentin Tarantino movie, but it's just the dialogue and just the way this guy makes film. It's it's just incredible. Like the guy just for me he delivers almost every time. Like there's not been one time where I've not looked forward to a Quentin Tarantino movie. The guy just he really delivers, and he spends time on his movies, and you know, I really want to see this like period piece in the late 1960s with this cast. Like, what doesn't sound good about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Like Leonardo DiCaprio and Quentin Tarantino, like, and even Brad Pitt with Inglourious Bastards. Like he brings in these actors that he works with somewhat on a regular basis. We'll see if Samuel L. Jackson makes an appearance in this one, but I don't know. Like the guy he knocks it out of the park every time for me. And I just cannot wait to see this movie. Up next, John Wick Chapter 3. If you have not watched a John Wick movie, what are you doing with your life? Like, these are some of the best action movies out of like the last 10 to 15 years. Like John Wick, the first one, which came out in like 2014, I think that movie is just, it's such a streamlined story, and the way they create the mythology of John Wick as this like sort of boogeyman, it's just like, it's perfection. And this is almost like, some people consider this, or they've sort of coined a term for John Wick as like, it's called like gun fu, not kung fu, it's gun fu, because of how like accurate and detailed the gunmanship when they make these movies is. Like a lot of movies, when, you know, you're shooting guns, they won't keep track of like how much ammunition's in the clip or magazine of the gun. They actually do that with these John Wick movies, which is just incredible. The stunt work is just out of this world for these John Wick movies. And like, Keanu Reeves is like 55 or 56 years old, and he's doing this shit. Like, that just goes to show you how top notch of an actor this dude is. And like, it's almost like Tom Cruise, where these guys are just like getting better with age in terms of like their action movie ability, I guess you could say, like their stunt work. Like, it's awesome. And you have Halle Berry in there, and is it Angelica Houston, I think, is playing the villain of the movie. So I'm really looking forward to John Wick Chapter 3. I think it's going to be pretty goddamn awesome. I think it comes out like Memorial Day weekend, I think. So I cannot wait for that. So if you haven't checked out a John Wick movie, please do yourself the favor and watch it. I can't recommend those movies enough. I guarantee you, you'll be entertained. So go check it out. Up next, we got Terminator. I don't remember when this one's actually coming out. I think it's a summer release, but I mean, Linda Hamilton's coming back like as Sarah Connor, and like, how can you not be excited for that? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, what a time we're living in right now. Like, to not be excited about a Terminator movie with Linda Hamilton coming back as Sarah Connor. Like, come on, man. This is this is wonderful times we're living in here. But I don't really know much about the story. They wrapped shooting, I think it was this summer or when, but you have Tim Miller's directing this one, who he did the first Deadpool movie. So I'm excited about that. You have James Cameron producing, but he's produced like every other Terminator movie that's come out in the last 15 years. So that doesn't make me that much excited, but Tim Miller makes me excited. So we'll see if it's good. I have faith. I think this is the one to sort of turn it around. And I guess sort of how I view the Terminator franchise is, they seem to have gotten like progressively worse. Like Terminator 3 was pretty bad. And then you had Terminator Salvation, which was pretty bad. And then you had Terminator Genesis, which was really bad. But like, I want them to sort of take these Terminator movies, if they keep making them in the future, to sort of rein it in. Like, it doesn't have to be such a big scale. Like, maybe go back to like how, like the scale of like the Terminator was, a more smaller, grounded, gritty horror, not, it has some horror elements, but it's more of just an R-rated like action movie. All these other ones seem to like take Terminator 2 and use that as the foundation and base their movie off of. I want to see one more rein back in, a little bit smaller, a little bit maybe more character driven. Like the world doesn't need to be at stakes every time. So I know like you have that with like Skynet and Cyberdyne and all of that stuff, but get something a little bit more grounded. So that's kind of what I want to see. Next up, we have It Chapter 2. It was phenomenal in my opinion. It's not like the greatest horror movie ever made or anything like that, but the way the characters were done, you know, you had these like 12, 13-year-old kids, and, you know, it had this like Stand By Me vibe, and I don't know. I just thought it was great. It's not the scariest movie ever made, but the way all the characters were handled, I thought was excellent. And, you know, for Chapter 2, the cast has really, like, the cast that they got, you have Jessica Chastain playing Beverly, and then you have James McAvoy in there. I don't remember if he's playing Bill, but then you have, I forgot his name. I have to look it up real quick. Bill Hader. Bill Hader is playing Richie. I think he's the one that like swears all the time, that has the potty mouth. But Bill Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise was like, I love the Tim Curry. It from the 1990 miniseries. I love that portrayal. Like that will always be this iconic performance in that we've seen of the character. But like Bill Skarsgård's portrayal of Pennywise was just something that I feel like it had the comedy vibe, that aspect, but it was more cinematic, I guess. Like it felt like the character had more layers, I suppose. Like, I don't know. It's a little bit hard to explain, but I felt like you couldn't get any better of a Pennywise for that movie than what that guy delivered. And the first images, I thought the outfit or like the costume that Pennywise was wearing and the face makeup, I thought it looked stupid. They released like the first look images for Pennywise, and I was just like, what is this? It's like some Victorian clown outfit, and I just thought it looked silly. But it actually worked in the movie, which was surprising. And it was quite terrifying, in my opinion. So I cannot wait for It Chapter 2. This is the chapter that, as far as the miniseries, like the second part, I was never as like fond of the second part. Like I always liked the part with the kids. I found that way more interesting, and the dynamic between those characters. And it was always the adults. Like I don't really care about these guys, and I felt like the story wasn't that interesting. So let's see if they can pull off the second chapter, the part 2 of the story. The cast really excites me, so I'm really looking forward to It Chapter 2. All right. So my second to last one, I feel like this should be on everybody's list. I don't know. Maybe if you don't like the MCU, I can understand why. But Avengers Endgame, like, how can you not be excited for this movie? Avengers Infinity War is probably my favorite MCU movie thus far. I feel like I still need to sit on it for a little bit. It might be a little too early to market my favorite in the MCU, but like that movie was so epic in scale, and just like, I don't know, I feel like I had never seen a movie like that with these characters we've been following for the last like 10 years or so. And it just feels like this television series we've been watching for so long. And, this shit is coming to, a series finale. Like, we don't know where this is going to be going after this. I mean, you have Spider-Man Far From Home that comes out like 2 months after this thing. But, I mean, it's just what times we're living in, man. Like, to not be enjoying this, it's just, I don't know how you could sort of feel that way about it. I mean, you like what you like, obviously, but like to avoid it, like, no, that's just for kids and stuff like that. That's kind of an unfortunate way to sort of live life, I guess. Like, this is there's nothing been like there's been nothing done like this ever before in terms of like film and TV. I mean, I don't know if you can really say TV, but this is an ongoing film franchise that is up to like its low 20s in terms of the franchise. And like, how much longer is this going to go? This could go another 10 years. And it's just, I don't know. I cannot wait to see what happens to these characters. And I know that, you know, spoiler alert for Avengers Infinity War, but like half of these characters, you know, were dusted. I just hope they don't bring everybody back. I want there to be some emotional weight, you know, some impact to have happened with what Thanos did. I don't want everything to just be undone with the Time Stone or whatever. So I just hope they, you know, can keep some characters dead. I don't want to sound cynical, but like, I think that's the best way to go, to have this story carry some emotional weight with these characters. So I'm really looking forward to Avengers Endgame. I hate that title though. Avengers Endgame. It just sounds silly to me. Like Infinity War. It sounds so like regal, I guess. But I don't know. I have some cautions about Avengers Endgame, but like I think it's gonna be pretty phenomenal. All right, so my last movie, not that it's my last movie that I'm excited for in 2019, but it's the last one of this list. If you know me, you know which one it probably is, and it's one of the last big movies of 2019. And it is Star Wars Episode 9. I personally liked The Last Jedi. It's not a perfect movie. I feel like it always, like The Last Jedi always has to be brought up, you know, but I liked that movie. It's not a perfect movie, but I loved everything they did with Luke Skywalker. There's so much about that movie that was a complete surprise, and the way it ended, I feel like it left the door open for a lot of possibilities. And I feel like there's going to be a period of time in between Episode 8 and Episode 9. I don't know how long. It might be a year, 2 years, 3 years. Who knows? But I'm excited to see where these characters are going to be at. You know, Kylo Ren is now the supreme leader of the First Order. And I want to see that. I want to see them having galactic control of the galaxy. I want to see that happen. There's a sentence in the opening crawl of The Last Jedi that the First Order now has galactic control. So I hope we get a little bit of that. I think there's going to be, I don't know how much of Luke Skywalker we're going to get in this movie. I think it's probably just going to be a little bit, which is probably unfortunate, but he was in The Last Jedi quite a bit. So, we even got Yoda in that movie. It was just like done beautifully, like that whole aspect, in my opinion. But I think this movie, we're going to get a massive space battle, or even on land battle, I guess. I think how they're going to carry out General Leia is going to be interesting. They mentioned that they're going to be using previously recorded footage, probably mostly from The Force Awakens and maybe a little bit from The Last Jedi. And I don't know, they'll probably like rotoscope her out. Like, you pretty much cut out the character frame by frame, and then you can, composite it onto an entirely different, stock of footage. So it'll be interesting to see how she interacts with these other characters. It might be done well. It might be done poorly. It might be, it might completely suck us out of the movie and ruin it. So it's they're kind of like walking on eggshells a bit with how they're doing that. So I hope they can pull it off. But like this movie, I don't know if it's entirely wrapping up the whole like Skywalker saga, and I see a lot of that stuff online that this is wrapping up all 9 movies, and I don't know if it really is. It might just be more so about this new batch of characters that we've been following along for the last 4 years or so. So I don't want to go into this movie with too high expectations. I did that with The Force Awakens, and I kind of walked out a little bit disappointed. And going into The Last Jedi, I didn't do that at all. I watched the trailers for what they were. I didn't try and speculate every detail, like frame by frame from those trailers like I did from The Force Awakens. And I walked out of that movie feeling a lot better about it. And I'm going to do the same for episode 9, but I think we're going to get a trailer in probably April around Star Wars Celebration sometime, maybe before. I don't know. Maybe they'll release one on Good Morning America or something. They sometimes do that. Or the Super Bowl. Who knows? But I think they'll want to do it on a day where there's nothing else really being released trailer-wise, so that they can really have the day and all of like the social media sharing to themselves. So we'll see, but it's interesting times we're living in. We have the 9th Star Wars movie coming out. No, it's more than that, because you have Rogue One as well. So, and Solo. So what would that be? The 11th, I think. I don't know if my math serves me right, but Star Wars Episode 9's coming out. We have a Godzilla movie with fighting 3 other monsters in a highly budgeted, massive blockbuster. There's a lot to be looking forward in 2019, but I want you guys to let me know, what other movies are you looking forward to next year? Is it Captain Marvel? Is it Spider-Man Far From Home? There's a ton of stuff coming out, so let me know in the comment section. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.